Hi, my topic is a determination of using games to improve grade 7 students' vocabulary. These are the main points of my presentation. Number 1, state of the problem. It includes plan and the rationale, research questions. Number 2, literature review. Number 3, research setting and cultural aspects. Number 4, methodology, methods, data collection and data analysis. Number 5, ethics. And the last one, conclusion. First of all, I will talk about state of the problem. At school, when my students have speaking activities in pairs or groups, I usually go around the class to give them help or support if necessary. A lot of them ask me to translate the words which they want to use from Vietnamese into English. I recognize that many of these words have been given in the previous lesson, and as a result of this, the students have a number of speaking problems while speaking. Clearly understanding of this problem, what I'm planning to do in this innovation research is to provide my students with the games so that they can naturally learn the language without having to memorize it mechanically. Obviously, this innovation is significant because it meets with the needs of the students and it is based on the real context setting. Firstly, this existing problem means traditional teaching approaches and curriculum design does not work effectively and there should be innovation in class. Secondly, according to Sun 2017, the teacher should create a productive learning environment in which students can be well equipped with the necessary skill for the 21st century workforce. Thirdly, creative activities should be carried out in class to get the student more motivated. Last but not least, because the games are designed by the teacher, the student preferred learning styles can be more emphasized and the student can also have more positive attitude towards their learning. As a researcher, I can find a better teaching method to improve my students' vocabulary, and if it is successful, it can be shared with other colleges so that other English teachers can apply it in their classes. As a practitioner, as an English teacher, I can be more creative and stop being monotonous. My job can be challenging but interesting. I can feel happy because I can make my students change in a very positive way. I have two research questions. Number 1, how are games of vocabulary to be used in my classroom? And number 2, how do my students respond to these games? Now I talk about the critical literature review. According to Sun 2017, students should be treated as language users. Teaching English is not simply to prepare students to imitate native English speakers as language learners, but to produce fully competent language users. Moreover, teachers need to introduce learners with different strategies and ways to learn and use the language. The research conducted by CPPU 2017 showed that games contribute to vocabulary learning if they give students a chance to learn and practice the language. Ibrahim 2017 suggested that curriculum designers, educators, and experts should include language games in the syllabus in order to encourage and motivate the student in learning the foreign language. The research conducted by NguyenThiHoangLan 2003 showed that games not only bring in relaxation and fun for students, but also help them retain new words more easily. Secondly, games means friendly competitions and they make students interested. Thirdly, vocabulary games bring real warm context into the classroom and enhance students' use of English in a flexible, communicative way. Now I will talk about research setting and cultural aspect. I will conduct my research with 30 girls and 28 boys in grade 7 of Juvenile Secondary School in Hanoi. Most of them are at the beginning of pre-intermediate, and some of them is at elementary level. Many students make a list of words in English and the meaning in Vietnamese. Some of them practice writing the words again and again, but they don't know how to pronounce the words and use the words correctly in sentences. They are bad at pronunciation. To carry out this project, I need to consider the facts and the culture that may impact on the innovation topic. About Vietnamese culture around English as a foreign language, according to Nguyen 2002, there are some cultural factors that badly affect the students learning English. Firstly, the students seem to be passive and quiet all the time during the lesson. Secondly, some students hesitate to look in the teacher's eyes while communicating because they feel nervous. About my school's culture. Firstly, I teach in a very big size classes with almost 60 students. It is very hard for me to organize activities in class because it can be noisy and that will badly influence the classes around. Secondly, we must strictly follow the national curriculum and we do not have much time for extra activities. Besides, the tests and exams heavily focus on grammar and some of the students, they prefer doing exercise instead of communicating or speaking in English because they want to get good grades and pass the final exam. Thirdly, there is a big gap between the bad student and the worst students in one class. And one more difficulty is that the students don't want to take part in the class activities because they are afraid of being judged by other classmates. The next part is the methodology, methods, data collection and data analysis. I'm going to use action research because it is not only practical, accessible, but also reflective. A plan, act, observe, and reflect procedure is going to be used in this research. I will use both quantitative and qualitative approach in this study. I choose a questionnaire because, firstly, many students can complete the questionnaire at the same time and it doesn't take time. Secondly, the students do not need to provide their names. They can answer all the questions without any interference. Thirdly, all the items in the questionnaire are in Vietnamese, which are very simple and clear for the students to understand. Besides, I also choose semi-structured interviews because they allow the student to give descriptive information about their problems in real context. Another method is observation, with the aim of exploring the teaching and learning process. With observation, I can observe day-to-day activities of both students and myself. I can learn from my students and my own experiences in the classroom. About the data collection. Quantitative data collection first. The items in the questionnaire will be tested to the students before the questionnaire are introduced to ensure that both the language and the content are clear and easy to understand. Quantitative data will be collected and recorded systematically so that it can be analyzed within a computer database. About qualitative data collection. Qualitative data is collected in words, perspective, attitudes, behaviors, and so on. Data collected in qualitative research are usually in description rather than in numerical form. About the data analysis. All the information collected from the questionnaire will be analyzed using statistical package of social sciences. This software will be freely downloaded from the internet in order to analyze the data gathered from my questionnaires. For qualitative data collected from the semi-structured interviews, the interview extracts will be read and reread to summarize what actually happened, then identify the similarity and the differences. The observations will be coded in identification numbers. The notes will be read to get the main ideas, then they will be read line by line to identify the emerging themes. Now I will talk about the ethics. According to Charles Harry, 2014, the researchers must be responsible for the students' safety. All the information related to the project should be informed to the students. Whether the student may or may not agree to take part in the project, the researcher must be fair to all of his students. Because the students are under 18, the researcher must send their parent the consent form so that they can understand about the project before its implementation. The research needs to carry out the project without any influence on implementing the school curriculum. All the information concerning with the students who get involved in the project must be kept confidential. And now I talk about the last one, some conclusion I draw from this project. Using games during an English lesson can help teachers create more opportunities to practice the vocabulary they have already studied. By using vocabulary games, students can use the language more communicatively. Learning vocabulary through games is one of the effective and interesting ways that can be applied in classrooms. However, how to organize games in class effectively and which games are suitable for the students' levels, interests, or learning styles are all the matters which require the teachers as me to think about. And these are the references I use for my presentation.